Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my rundown best bet in Major League Baseball, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Now, we have been dealing with some technical difficulties at the premium site and pickdawgz.com in general as we've relaunched our new website. You guys are going to really love it, but first couple of days of the launch, some necessary things we got to go through to make sure everything's up and running. So please bear with us as we get those things situated, and we do apologize for any inconvenience there. But alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, we've got the Philadelphia Phillies and the Miami Marlins at Lone Depot Park. We got Jesus Luzardo and Cal Quantrill as the starters. Now, we know Luzardo was really struggling in the last couple of games. He gave up a combined 20 runs in 2 games, but his last start was definitely a step in the right direction. More of what we've seen for the majority of the season for Luzardo, as he goes 6 innings of 1 run, 10 strikeout baseball, and that was against a tough lineup in the Chicago Cubs. Now you're facing a Marlins team that overall this season doesn't have the best numbers against lefties. They have improved a little bit as in the last 30 days. Their strikeout rate's gone down, OPS has gone up, but I still think Luzardo can put together a quality start in this ball game. I think Cal Quantrill also can go 5-6 decent innings, and I think this is going to be a lower scoring game at Lone Depot. I think the total's set a little bit too steep, so I'm going to roll with the under in Phillies Marlins. Next up, we've got the Detroit Tigers taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We got Casey Mize and Bailey Falter as the starters. Casey Mize, I've mentioned a few times, I do expect regression as the season continues. He's given up a lot of base runners recently. He's been able to work out of jams, which is always good for a starting pitcher, but 2 walks, 8 base hits, and a home run given up in his last game against the Orioles. Only 2 runs. It could have been a lot worse, and honestly should have been a lot worse in my opinion, but the Orioles still found a way to win that game in blowout fashion, and the Tigers suffered a couple of blowout losses this past weekend against the Cincinnati Reds, giving up 19 runs the final 2 games of that series. So Detroit's a popular team. A lot of people like to bet on them this year, but this is a situation where I don't think they should be this big of a favorite. I think Bailey Falter has proven his last 5-10 starts. He's been really sharp as one of the better lefties in the National League. I don't know if he can continue to pitch like this long term, but right now he's in great form. Pirates are winning a lot of his games. I'm going to roll Pittsburgh here plus the 1.5 runs on the money line in this one. Next up, we've got the Rockies and the Nationals. We got Antonio Senzatella and Mike Soroka as the starters. I think this is a big-time pitching mismatch in favor of the Nationals. Now, obviously, the Nationals have not been playing their best baseball in the last few series, but I think this is a spot where we see a blowout win. Senzatella, just not really a viable starting pitching option, in my opinion, at the Major League level. And while Soroka's ERA is steep on paper, I've mentioned a few times, I think he's a lot better than his current ERA. His expected numbers are really sharp. He struggled his last game against the Mets, giving up a couple of homers. He still had 5 strikeouts in 5 innings. He's had 12 Ks his last 11. I think Soroka will end up being the much better starting pitcher in this ball game and the rest of the season. So I'm going to go with the Nationals here. Lay the 1.5 runs. I look for them to score early on Senzatella, add a few runs on the Rockies bullpen, and they hold on to a run line cover. Next up, we've got the Angels and the Yankees. We've got Kyle Hendricks and Will Warren as the projected starters. This is one of my least favorite games on the board right now. I just think that when you look at both of these starting pitchers, they've been very inconsistent as of late. Warren pitched really well against the Royals his last start, but gave up 11 runs in the 2 starts prior against the Red Sox and Dodgers. And Hendricks, his last 2 games have been pretty sharp, but got an ERA above 5 on the season. I still don't love him in this matchup against the Yankees, who have had pretty good numbers. The current Yankees lineup against Hendricks in previous matchups, good, high expected slugging percentage and a high xWOBA. So I think the Yankees are going to end up winning this game. I think their offense is going to be too much. I do trust their bullpen a lot more, even with the injuries. And if this is a close game in the middle innings, I think the Yankees will be able to add a few runs in the 6th, 7th, and 8th to dress up the score and cover the run line. But not my favorite game on the board. Next up, we've got the Diamondbacks and the Blue Jays. We got Brandon Pfaadt and Chris Bassett as the starters. Now, I could see both of these starting pitchers struggling in this matchup. These are 2 really tough lineups against right-handed pitching. Bassett just gave up 4 runs against the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to be a perfect outing for him, but I think he still will be the much better option by the end of the game. As Brandon Pfaadt, we had talked about how his expected ERA compared to his current ERA, one of the biggest differences in differentials in Major League Baseball. Now that his ERA is at 5.5, that's no longer the case, but he still does not have great underlying numbers on the season. He had a decent outing against the Mariners last time out, but still gave up 2 home runs. The Blue Jays are really tough against righties right now, and then the Blue Jays have a much better bullpen to go with it. So even if Fox goes, 5-6 decent innings, I don't think the Diamondbacks bullpen can hold on. So I'm going to roll the Blue Jays in this one on the money line. Next up, we've got the Twins and the Reds. We got David Festa and Andrew Abbott as the starters. Andrew Abbott's been one of the more profitable pitchers for the Reds this season. They've won 4 of his last 5 games, and he's coming off a complete game shutout against the Guardians. Twins don't have amazing numbers against lefties in the last month. David Festa is not one of my favorite options in this Twins rotation. The Reds offense starting to heat up. We saw 19 runs scored in the final 2 games of that series in Detroit. They've been hitting right-handed pitching pretty well in the last 30 days overall. I'm going to roll with the Reds in the first 5 innings on the money line at Great American Ballpark. Next up, the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves. We got David Peterson and Spencer Schwellenbach as the starters. Peterson's having a great season so far, but not the best numbers against his current Braves lineup. Atlanta has been hitting lefties pretty well in the last month. Schwellenbach's in great form himself on the other side, and the Mets are coming off their weakest series of the season by far, just getting really embarrassed at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. 9-0 final, the final game on Sunday. It's tough to back the Mets, in my opinion, in this situation. This is a big rivalry. These games are always exciting, including last year's season series, which was really exciting as the playoff picture was dictated on that series. I got to roll with the Braves in this one, though. I trust Schwellenbach on the money line. Next up, we've got the Orioles and the Rays. We got Dean Kramer and Zach Littell as the starters. You've got 2 starting pitchers that I really don't trust, especially at Steinbrenner Field, where Zach Littell's put together a good season in terms of his numbers with the ERA at 3.84 and the fact that the Rays are winning a lot of his games recently, but he still is not really missing a lot of bats, and he's given up a ton of home runs, 21 home runs in 86 2/3. I mean, against an Orioles team that's heating up against right-handed pitching and pitching at Steinbrenner Field, I can't trust Littell in this game. He gave up 4 home runs his last game against the Red Sox. But then you got Dean Kramer on the other side, who gave up 2 home runs himself his last start against the Tigers. 9 runs given up his last 2 games combined. We saw what the Rays did offensively at Citi Field against the Mets, a great pitching team and a pretty pitcher-friendly stadium at Citi Field. But the Rays still scored a ton of runs and swept that series. Give me the over here in Orioles-Rays. I think the over in the first 5 is also worth a look. Next up, we've got the Cardinals and the White Sox. We got Matthew Liberatore and Shane Smith as the starters. I like Chicago in this one. I mean, Matthew Liberatore is not in good form at all right now. He's given up 16 runs in his last 3 starts combined. The White Sox have actually been pretty solid against left-handed pitching in the last month. Shane Smith, of course, has been their best starting pitching option by far this season. So while I don't love the Chicago bullpen, also the Cardinals bullpen I've mentioned a few times, I do expect major regression as the season goes along. I expect that regression for this Cardinals team in general. I think they were off to an unsustainably hot start this season. I mentioned a couple of videos ago, I think they'll be sellers at the trade deadline. I'm going to roll the White Sox in this game on the money line. Next up, we've got the Royals and the Rangers. We've got Seth Lugo and Jack Leiter as the starters. I'm looking at the under in this game. There's been a lot of unders at Globe Life Field this season, and you got 2 offenses that have been very disappointing in the American League this year. In the last month, the Royals are 23rd, the Rangers are 25th in team OPS against right-handed pitching. Lugo's in good form. Jack Leiter struggled his last game, but I think he can be good enough in this matchup. Pitching against the Royals team, it's just not been doing much offensively. I'm going to roll with the under in Rangers-Royals. Next up, we've got the Cubs and the Brewers. We've got Chad Patrick and Ben Brown as the starters. I'm not giving up on Ben Brown at all. He's got a 5.71 ERA in the season, which looks miserable on paper, but he's got a 3.39 xFIP, a 3.3 FIP. He's got an unsustainably high 368 BABIP. That's just not going to be the case for much longer. Also, a 64% left on base percentage. Situations where we're seeing Ben Brown in 2 out, situations with runners on base, he gives up a bloopy base hit that scores a couple of runs, and it derails an entire outing, like we saw yet again against the Phillies. Alec Boehm, 2-out RBI single. Those types of situations have really piled up on Ben Brown this year, but he still has so much talent, so much potential at this level. I still think that Ben Brown is a good option for the Cubs going forward. He is the type of pitcher that could be somebody that emerges as a postseason hero, or somebody that's really big in a playoff spot for the Cubs, whether it's as a starter, as a bullpen, as a reliever. I think Ben Brown is somebody to keep an eye on for the second half of the season. I'm not giving up on him. Chad Patrick just gave up 5 runs in his last game against the Braves. You're going up against one of the toughest lineups in baseball in the Chicago Cubs. Look for the Cubs to win this game, in my opinion, pretty sizably. I'm going to go with the Cubs and lay the 1.5 runs. Also, I think Ben Brown, player props are worth a look. I think that he puts together a strong outing, a bounce-back start from Ben Brown. Next up, we've got the Red Sox and the Mariners. We've got Walker Buehler and Bryan Woo as the projected starters. Neither of these starting pitchers have been very good as of late, but I think that Bryan Woo has a better chance at bouncing back against the Red Sox lineup that is going to be missing Rafael Devers quite a bit in the first few weeks, at least, before the trade deadline. Maybe they make a move to add a couple of bats, but also no Alex Bregman for a while. This Red Sox lineup is not in great shape, and I think Woo can put together a quality start. I think Walker Buehler struggles a bit against the Mariners team. It's been inconsistent offensively, but still has some pop in that lineup with one of the best home run hitters in baseball in Cal Raleigh. So give me the Mariners in this one on the money line at T-Mobile Park. Next up, we've got the Guardians and the Giants. We got Slade Cecconi and Robbie Ray as the starters. And of course, Rafael Devers makes his Giants debut for this one. A team that had great pitching, the rotation, the bullpen, stellar. The offense, very situational, a lot of walk-off wins and, close one-run wins for the Giants this year. But they could certainly use a bat. They've got a great home record, a great record in general this season. This is definitely a much-needed boost in the lineup with one of the best hitters in baseball. I think this is going to be a lower-scoring game, though. I think in this first game, Slade Cecconi's coming off a pretty good outing. Robbie Ray's been excellent, and the Guardians have not been doing anything against left-handed pitching in the last month. So for me, I lean towards the under and the Giants. Maybe take an under Giants money line parlay, same-game parlay, but I also think the under is the better play. Next up, we've got the Astros and the Athletics. We got Ryan Gusto for Houston, but no official starter right now for the A's. I'm going to lean towards the Athletics right now on the money line. I think this is going to be a tough outing for Gusto, who is not really my favorite starting pitching option. His expected numbers aren't great, and this is a tough matchup, in Sacramento against the A's lineup. It's starting to heat up a little bit. I think Gusto does struggle, and I think the A's will be able to score plenty of runs. The question is, who they go with on the mound to start. Can their bullpen be good enough? I think this A's bullpen's a lot better than its current bullpen ERA. In terms of the projected WAR numbers, they're right around the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit below league average, but nowhere near dead last in baseball. I don't think they're in the conversation of the Rockies, Nationals, Marlins, and Angels in terms of the worst bullpens in baseball. Throw the White Sox in there. I think the A's are a step above that, so look for that bullpen to continue to improve as the season goes along. I'm going to roll with the A's in this game on the money line. Next up, we've got the Padres and the Dodgers. We got Randy Vasquez for San Diego. No official starter right now for the Dodgers. Now, Vasquez pitched pretty well against the Dodgers, believe it or not, in his last game. 4 2/3, 1 run. He did give up a home run, and it still ended up being a 5-2 Dodgers win and run line cover. I think we see a similar score line, but I will give credit to Vasquez for that solid outing. And overall, he's been pretty good in the last 5 games, but he still has a 35-41 walk-to-strikeout ratio. His expected numbers are through the roof. The Dodgers are seeing for the second time in the same week. I got to go with LA, lay the 1.5 runs, and maybe the Dodgers team total over as well. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.